leadership, there is one characteristic trait that will help you to stand out, and that is charisma. If you have ever wanted to be more charismatic, more inspirational to other people, perhaps in your businesses or maybe with your teams or organizations you're working for, then you want to absolutely watch this very short live video to learn a bit more about how you can start developing charisma. Now, in this video, I'm going to share with you what is charisma and why it's important. If you want to go into a lot more detail on it, then join me later this evening for a live that talks even more about charisma to give you some really great strategies to start developing this characteristic as soon as possible. If this information sounds very interesting to you, then you are meant to be here. You are trying to elevate yourself as a woman in leadership, and I'm here to support you on your journey. Now, I want to say that typically when it comes to leadership and etc., some of the things that average leaders do is they learn how to speak in public, they learn how to speak concisely, and they learn how to be very articulate in the communication, whether it is in a verbal format or in a written format. But there's one aspect of leadership if you really want to be exceptional. Now, if you want to be the average leader that can do the basic, I would say, task or have the basic skills that I just mentioned, then this may not be the best video for you, because my videos are catered more toward individuals, women in leadership, or in my direct audience that I provide executive one-on-one coaching services to. So if you're a woman in leadership, feel free to contact me for a strategy session in the description below. We'll talk about where you are and how to get you to the next place. If you happen to be outside of my target audience, such as a woman that's not a leader or a man in leadership, you're going to learn a lot of value here. So stay tuned. This will be very helpful. But I really work and cater my content to people that are trying to be exceptional and doing a bit above average compared to everybody else. So if you're watching this portion of the video, you're more than likely watching the replay, friends. And I want to let you know that I'm glad that you're here. There's typically a point in time where people join live here on YouTube. So give me just a few moments so I can say hello to everyone. And then we're going to go into charisma, why it's important, and talk about some strategies in terms of how you can start developing it as a leader. Now, charisma itself, as I mentioned, if you're trying to be the average leader, then just check off the boxes. Learn how to speak in public, learn how to speak concisely, learn how to articulate yourself in a written and a verbal format. But having charisma takes it to that next level. It really does. And if you think about some of the leaders that you are inspired by or want to hear them when they speak, let me know in the comments below, what are the things they do, what do they say that make you want to listen to them? Let me know. And let me know the leader. I'm just curious to know. Now, I want to say hello, welcome to those of you who are joining live today. If you want to learn how to develop charisma in just a few moments, then stay tuned to this particular live, because I'm going to talk a lot more about charisma. Today we're talking about why it's important and giving you a really good foundation of charisma and a strategy you can start working on today. And then this evening when I go live, I'll go into charisma in a bit more detail, because this is a topic that people want to have, but it is very difficult to attain, because oftentimes the explanation of it is so complex that it doesn't make sense. Similar to executive presence. Executive presence is one of those words that is very difficult for people to understand and to be able to develop. Now, specifically, I want to know if you have questions about charisma. Let me know in the comments below. So charisma, why is charisma important? So charisma is important because if you look at the actual Greek definition of it, the word charisma itself, it means favor or gift. That is the root word of it. And when I looked at the Oxford Languages Dictionary of it, of course I'm not quoting it verbatim because I'm driving, but to give you a pretty good summary of it, it is your ability, being charismatic, is to inspire devotion from others as a leader, or showcasing you're a leader, and etc. So why is charisma important outside of what I shared with you earlier? Charisma is important because it will help to make you stand apart from everybody else. If you're the person that has those basic as I mentioned, the basic skills that you need to be a leader. And for those of you just joining, welcome, welcome. The basic skills you need in terms of communication wise as a leader is you need to speak in public, you need to be able to speak concisely, you need to be able to communicate yourself in a written and verbal format. So before I go into that, I want to say hello to Christy Claire Harper 5278. Hello, welcome friend. Hope you're doing well today. Let me know if you have any questions about being charismatic and starting to develop that as a woman in leadership. As I mentioned, the basics in terms of communication is what I just shared with you. Now, let's talk a little bit more about charisma. As I mentioned, it's your ability to inspire devotion to other individuals. And you can only inspire people by being inspirational. And the key to inspiring people has a lot to do with your energy, your excitement that you're trying to share for a specific conversation or discussion or role that you're in. I have seen leaders, many leaders over the years who are very passionate about what they're doing, extremely passionate about what they're doing. You know that they eat, live, and breathe this topic. But when they are communicating to other people, that passion is not, you can't feel it. Does that make sense? You can't really feel it. You know they're passionate about it, but there's something that's missing. And it typically is charisma. And that has a lot to do with the amount of energy that you are able to showcase when you are communicating about a specific issue or a specific topic. If you do not have that energy, that charisma to talk about a topic specifically, it makes it very difficult for people to feel inspired by you. They can feel inspired by the words that you say, and that's very important. But if you really are trying to go to that next level in terms of how you are communicating as a leader, then absolutely charisma is something you want to put on your list of skills that you want to learn how to master. Now, I promised you I was going to give you a very brief strategy that you can use today to start developing charisma. And the strategy, and as I mentioned, I'm going to go into more detail on this later this evening because this live is a bit shorter than normal. So definitely join me later this evening. I'll go into a lot more detail on charisma. But a strategy that you can start working on to develop your charisma as a woman in leadership, or perhaps if you're a man in leadership watching this video, is to think about your role, your position, what you are in right now. And what excites you about your role, your position, your profession? What is it? What is it that really excites you about what you are doing right now? If you're in a scenario where nothing excites you at all, then you may be in the wrong field, friend. You may be in the wrong career, wrong field. And if that's the case, that's okay. The goal for me in an executive coaching session, if we were working together one-on-one, is to increase your self-awareness. So if you're not happy with where you are right now and there's nothing that excites you about it, then you absolutely don't want to be in the role you're in. Then we need to make some plans and strategize in terms of how to get you out of these positions that you're in. However, for those of you who are relatively happy with where you are, think about specifically, and I'm sorry, the sun is really bright in this area. Think about specifically what makes you happy? What makes you happy in your role? And when you start talking about your profession and your career and etc., think of that one thing. Hopefully it's multiple things, but think of the one thing that makes you really happy to be in the role that you're in. Because if you're able to do this, then this will help you be able to start developing charisma and to talk about your roles in a very charismatic way. I hope this information has been helpful to you today because charisma is very important. As I mentioned, this is definitely a brief live for me in the morning. It typically would be longer, but I had some things I had to take care of today. But let me know what questions you have about charisma, and make sure you join me a little bit later this evening because we're going to dive into charisma in a lot more detail. So I'm looking forward to seeing you all later this evening, and I hope you have an amazing